The rain hammered the windshield like fists, blurring the red taillights ahead into bleeding streaks of fire. Tiana sat frozen in the passenger seat of Damian's black SUV, her bandaged elbow throbbing in time with her pulse, the sterile smell of antiseptic still clinging to her skin from the clinic. She had just watched the warehouse lights fade in the side mirror when Damian's phone lit up on the dashboard with a single incoming call, no name, just a string of numbers. He answered on speaker, without hesitation. The voice on the other end was calm, almost tender, the way someone speaks right before they twist the knife. "Congratulations, Damian. You caught the small fish. But you still don't see the ocean." Tiana's breath hitched. She knew that voice. Not from memory, not exactly, but from dreams, from the half-remembered lullabies her mother used to hum when she thought no one was listening. The same soft cadence. The same faint accent that curled around certain vowels. Damian's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "Who is this?" A low chuckle, wet and intimate. "Tell the girl to look in the envelope you gave her tonight. The one with the scholarship. There's a second paper folded inside. She'll understand." The line went dead. Tiana's fingers were ice as she tore open the envelope Damian had handed her only hours earlier. The scholarship letter fluttered to the floor mat. Beneath it, a single folded sheet, yellowed, edges soft from years of handling. She unfolded it slowly, the paper trembling between her hands. It was a birth certificate. Her birth certificate. Name: Tiana Elise Cross. Father: Damian Alexander Cross. Mother: Elena Marie Cross. Date of birth: March 12, 2006. The world tilted. The SUV swerved slightly as Damian glanced over, then slammed on the brakes and pulled to the shoulder. Horns blared behind them. He killed the engine. Silence crashed in. "That's impossible," he whispered, voice cracking on the last syllable like thin ice. Tiana stared at the document until the letters swam. You knew my mother?" Damian's face had drained of color. He reached for the paper, but his hand hovered, afraid to touch it. Elena. The name left him like a wound reopening. "She was my wife." The rain roared louder, drowning the city. Tiana's laugh came out jagged, more sob than sound. "No. My mother was Elena Thompson. She married my father, James Thompson. They died when I was 16. Car accident. I lived with my uncle after. You never even." She stopped. The pieces were slamming together too fast, cutting her from the inside. Damian closed his eyes. "James Thompson was my CFO. My closest friend. When Elena told me she was pregnant, I panicked. The company was under investigation. Threats. I thought if they knew about a child, they would use her. Use you to destroy me. I asked James to marry her. To give you his name. To keep you safe. He loved her. He loved you like his own. I thought it was the only way." Tiana's chest heaved. "You gave me away. I thought I was protecting you. You let me believe I was an orphan. You let me sleep on cardboard behind a bakery while you sat in glass towers." Damian's voice broke. "I paid for everything. Your school, your medical bills, the apartment your uncle lived in. I watched from a distance. Every birthday I stood across the street and watched you blow out candles through a window. I told myself it was enough. That you were safe. That you were happy." "I was starving," she whispered. "I was accused of stealing my whole life. And you were watching?" He reached for her hand. She jerked away so violently the seatbelt cut into her shoulder. The rain kept falling, indifferent. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching this video from. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful and emotional stories like this. The SUV sat motionless on the shoulder while cars blurred past, headlights slicing through the dark like accusations. Tiana pressed her forehead against the cool glass, trying to breathe around the hole in her chest. Every memory she had clung to, her mother's gentle hands braiding her hair, her father's deep laugh when she spilled juice on his important papers, the way they both kissed her forehead goodnight, was now poisoned. They weren't hers. Not fully. They had been borrowed from a lie so big it swallowed her whole childhood. Damian spoke quietly, voice raw. "When you walked into the lobby with my wallet, I didn't recognize you at first. You looked so much like her. But the eyes, those are mine. I saw the note in the wallet. Don't trust anyone at the meeting. And I knew the threats were back. The same people who silenced Elena and James. They never stopped watching. When they started targeting you, I realized the only way to keep you alive was to keep you close. But I couldn't tell you.
Not yet.
Not until I knew who was still inside the company. Tiana turned slowly. Tears carved clean tracks through the city grime on her cheeks. You hired me out of guilt. I hired you because you chose to return the wallet. Because even starving, you wouldn't steal. Because in 9 years of searching for a reason to believe the world wasn't completely rotten, you were the first person who reminded me what Elena believed in. She laughed again, bitter and small. And now what? I'm your daughter? Your secret charity case? Do I get a corner office and a trust fund to make up for 16 years of nothing? I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I don't deserve it. But I will spend the rest of my life trying to protect what I should have protected from the beginning. Tiana stared at the birth certificate again. The official stamp. The signatures. Her mother's elegant handwriting next to Damian's sharp, controlled one. Proof that the life she mourned had been a performance. A beautiful, heartbreaking performance put on by two people who loved her enough to lie. She folded the paper carefully and slid it into her pocket. Take me back to the apartment, she said, voice flat. Tiana. Please. He started the engine without another word. The drive was endless. Neither spoke. When they reached the small building, she opened the door before the car fully stopped. Rain soaked her instantly, cold and relentless. She didn't look back as she climbed the stairs, shoes squelching, heart a lead weight in her ribs. Inside the apartment, she locked the door, slid down against it, and cried the way she hadn't since the night the police knocked and told her the car had gone off the bridge. Deep, ugly sobs that tore at her throat. She cried for the parents she lost twice, once in metal and fire, once in secrets. She cried for the girl who thought honesty would save her, only to discover it had merely dragged her deeper into a grave already dug. Hours later, when the sobs finally quieted to shuddering breaths, she pulled out her phone. The screen still showed the last message from the unknown number. She typed one reply. Who else knows? The response came almost immediately. Everyone who matters. And soon everyone will. She stared at the words until they blurred. Across town, in a penthouse overlooking the glittering scar of the city, Damian stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. His mother, still in her wheelchair, still the only person who ever truly saw through him, wheeled closer. You told her, she said. Not a question. He nodded once. And, she hates me. She hates the lie, his mother corrected gently. Give her time. Truth like that doesn't settle easy. It burns first. He pressed his forehead to the cold glass. What if she never forgives me? Then you'll love her from a distance, she said simply. The way you've done for 16 years. But this time without the lie between you. He closed his eyes. The city lights kept shining, indifferent to broken hearts and buried truths. The next morning, Tiana did not go to work. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the birth certificate again. Then she stood, walked to the tiny kitchen, and opened the drawer where she had hidden the scholarship letter. She tore it in half, then in quarters, then smaller, until the pieces looked like confetti from a celebration she was never invited to. She left them scattered on the table like evidence. When the knock came at the door, she froze. No one knew she was here except Damian. She approached slowly, heart hammering. Through the peephole she saw her uncle, older, thinner, eyes hollow. The same man from the warehouse. She opened the door just enough to speak. You lied to me my whole life. I kept you alive, he answered. That's what Elena asked me to do. James was already gone when she realized the brakes were cut. She called me from the car. She said, if anything happens to us, take her. Hide her. Don't let them find her.
I did what she asked.
I hated every second of it. But I did it. Tiana's throat closed. Why are you here now? Because the board member they arrested last night was just the face. The real power is higher. And now they know who you are. They know Damian knows. They're coming for both of you. She stared at him, the man who had beaten her, accused her, thrown her out, yet also the man who had kept his promise to a dying sister. What do they want? She whispered. Everything. The company.
The money. And silence.
Permanent silence. Tiana stepped back, letting the door swing wider. Then come in. Tell me everything. No more lies. He hesitated, then crossed the threshold like a man stepping into a guillotine. Outside, the city woke up, honking and shouting and living, while inside a small apartment, two broken people began the long, painful work of stitching truth back together. But in the shadows of Cross Holdings, a new envelope waited on Damian's desk. No name, just a single photograph inside. Tiana, asleep in the apartment the night before. A red circle drawn around her heart. And 4 typed words beneath it. She was never safe. The storm wasn't over. It was only beginning to howl. Tiana sat across from her uncle at the tiny kitchen table, the torn scholarship papers still scattered like snow between them. He spoke in a low, careful voice, as though every word might detonate. Your father, James, found the first discrepancies in '05. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. Money moving in ways that didn't match the books. He brought it to Damian. Damian promised to investigate quietly. But the deeper they dug, the higher it went. Politicians. Foreign investors. People who don't forgive exposure. Tiana's fingers curled into fists. And Elena? She overheard a phone call. Wrong place, wrong time. She told James they had to leave the city. That night they drove. Someone forced them off the bridge. No skid marks. No witnesses. Official report said, driver error. But Elena called me right before impact. She said one name, Malcolm. Malcolm who? Malcolm Reed. Chairman of the board until last year. Damian forced him out after the first audit scandal. But Reed never left quietly.
He went underground.
Waited. When you showed up with the wallet, it triggered everything again. They thought you were planted.
A spy.
Then they realized who you really were. Tiana swallowed bile. So they tried to frame me, scare me out. When that didn't work, they tried to kill the lie instead, by telling me the truth in the worst way possible. Her uncle nodded. They want Damian broken. They want the company. And they want you gone so no heir can ever claim it. Heir, she echoed, the word tasting like ash. You're his only child. Legally, if anything happens to him, Cross Holdings passes to you. They can't let that happen. Silence stretched thin and sharp. Tiana stood abruptly. I need air. She walked out before he could stop her, down the stairs, into the gray morning. The street smelled of wet concrete and diesel. She walked without direction until she reached the bakery where she used to sleep. The cardboard was gone, replaced by fresh graffiti. She stared at the wall for a long time. Then she felt it, the prickle on the back of her neck. Someone watching. She turned slowly. Across the street, a black sedan idled. Tinted windows. No plate visible from this angle. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number.
Run.
She didn't. Instead, she lifted her chin, stared straight at the car, and mouthed 2 words. Come get me. The sedan peeled away. When she returned to the apartment, her uncle was gone. A note lay on the table beside the torn papers.
I'm sorry.
I can't protect you anymore. Stay with Damian. Trust him this time. She crumpled the note. Then she picked up her phone and dialed the only number she had left. Damian answered on the first ring. I'm coming in, she said. And we're ending this. Together. Silence on the line. Then, quietly, I'm waiting. She hung up, looked around the small apartment one last time, the clean sheets, the safe walls, the illusion of peace, and walked out the door. The city waited, hungry and merciless. And somewhere in its veins, the final truth was still bleeding, waiting to be found. When Tiana stepped into Damian's office, the building felt different. Quieter, as though it were holding its breath. Security nodded her through without a word. The elevator ride up was silent except for the soft ding of passing floors. He stood at the window when she entered. No suit jacket. Sleeves rolled. Eyes red-rimmed. She closed the door. I tore up the scholarship, she said. I figured. I hate you. I know, but I hate them more. He turned. For the first time, she saw the fear in him, not the controlled mask of a CEO, but the raw terror of a father who had already lost everything once. Then help me finish it, he said.
She walked to the desk.
Laid the birth certificate between them. No more secrets. No more secrets. They sat. And for the next 3 hours they planned. Cameras. Audits. Offshore accounts. Names.
Dates.
The hidden drives Damian had kept for years, but never had the courage to open. Tiana listened. Asked questions.
Pointed out patterns he had missed.
Her mind, sharpened by survival, cut through the lies like a blade. By dusk they had a name. Malcolm Reed. And a location. A private estate outside the city. A meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. The final transfer of funds that would gut Cross Holdings and vanish into numbered accounts. They would be there. Uninvited. That night, Tiana slept in the apartment again, but this time she left the light on. She dreamed of her mother. Not the gentle lullaby version, but the last moments in the car, reaching for the phone, whispering her name like a prayer. When she woke, Damian was waiting downstairs. He handed her a small black box. Inside, a pendant. Simple silver. A tiny key engraved on it. It was hers, he said. She gave it to me the day she told me she was pregnant. Said it was for luck. I think she would want you to have it. Tiana slipped it over her head. The metal rested cold against her skin, then slowly warmed. They drove in silence. The estate was lit like a fortress.
Guards. Dogs.
High walls. They didn't go through the gate. They went under. A service tunnel, blueprints Damian had kept from the original construction.
Damp.
Narrow. Smelling of earth and rust. They emerged in the wine cellar. Voices drifted from upstairs. Malcolm Reed's laugh, smooth, confident. And another voice. Familiar. Tiana froze. It was the cold-eyed assistant. The one who had hated her from day one. Damian placed a hand on her shoulder.
Steady.
Silent. They climbed the stairs. The meeting room was grand. Long table. Crystal. Men in expensive suits. Malcolm Reed at the head. The assistant beside him. They froze when Damian stepped into the light. Tiana followed. Reed smiled. The prodigal returns. And he brought the bastard. Damian's voice was steel. It's over, Malcolm. We have the drives. The transfers. The proof. Police are already moving on your accounts. Reed laughed. You think I didn't plan for that? You think I didn't leave insurance? He nodded to the assistant. She pulled out a phone. Press play. A recording. Tiana's voice. From the warehouse. You killed my parents. Then Reed's. Careful with your words. Then gunshots. Doctored, edited, but convincing. Self-defense, Reed said smoothly.
She attacked.
You saw it. Everyone will. Tiana's blood turned to ice. Damian stepped forward. You edited it. Of course. But perception is reality. And tomorrow the world sees you defending your illegitimate child after she tried to kill me. Tragic accident. Company goes into receivership. I step in as savior. Tiana looked at Damian. He looked back. Then he did the last thing she expected. He laughed.
Low.
Dangerous. You forgot one thing, Malcolm. He reached into his pocket.
Pulled out a small drive.
Not the company drives. Not the financials. He pressed play. A different voice. Elena's.
Faint. Panicked.
From the car that night 9 years ago. Malcolm. I know what you're doing. James is meeting the investigator. If anything happens to us, the key is with my daughter. She'll find it when she's ready.
Click.
Silence. Reed's smile vanished. The assistant's face drained of color. Damian spoke quietly. The pendant. The one I gave Tiana tonight. Elena hid a microchip inside the key engraving.
Coordinates.
Passwords. Everything. We decrypted it last night. Tiana touched the pendant. Her mother had carried the truth around her neck the whole time, and given it to her daughter, without ever saying a word. Reed lunged. Damian moved faster. A single punch. Reed crumpled. The assistant tried to run. Tiana blocked the door. Not this time. Police sirens rose in the distance. Later, much later, after statements, after arrests, after the sun came up on a city that finally felt smaller, Tiana stood on the balcony of Damian's penthouse. He joined her. No words at first. Then, softly, "I'm sorry." She looked at him. "I know. Do you hate me less?" "A little." He nodded. She touched the pendant. "She loved me enough to hide me. You loved me enough to watch from afar. James loved me enough to claim me. I had 3 parents, not one." Tears shimmered in his eyes. "And now we start over," she said. "No lies. No distance. Just truth. Even when it hurts." He reached out. This time she didn't pull away. She took his hand. The city glittered below, vast and indifferent. But for the first time in her life, Tiana didn't feel small against it. She felt seen. And that was enough. Almost. Because in the quiet after the storm, one final truth remained unspoken. The microchip had held more than coordinates. It held a second recording. Elena, whispering to the phone. "If you're hearing this, baby, it means I'm gone. But listen, Damian isn't your father." A long pause. Breathing. "Your father is James. Always was. Damian, he couldn't have children. We used a donor. But he loved you like his own. He still does. If he's protecting you now, let him. Because family isn't blood. It's who stays when everything else falls apart." The recording ended. Tiana never told him. She carried it in silence, the way her mother carried secrets. And when Damian looked at her with hope and fear and love, she smiled. Because some truths destroy, and some truths save. She chose the second. And in doing so, she chose him. Not as a father by biology, but as the man who stayed. And that, in the end, was the most devastating truth of all. Sometimes the richest heart belongs to the poorest girl. And sometimes it belongs to the richest man who finally learned how to give it away. She leaned against the railing, pendant warm against her skin. The city kept breathing. And so did they. Together.